Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Yarn Ambassador podcast. My name is Charlie, also known as Chellis on Ravelry, and you can find me on Instagram as Yarn Ambassador. You can also find the blog part of this post on yarnambassador.com. So this month's episode is a little bit different again. I feel like none of my episodes have a startling consistency to the format, but they are all here with the same aim. If this is the first time you are viewing, then welcome. The aim of this podcast is to showcase and give a little bit of airtime to our wonderful independent UK yarn dyers. Each month I try to showcase the work of one independent yarn dyer from the UK and tell you a little bit about their colourways, their yarns, and where possible try and interview the dyers so you can get a real feel for their motivations, their inspirations. If you are a returning viewer, thank you very much for coming back. You will have heard me mention in the past that it's quite tricky to work with the yarn enough from an independent yarn dyer to give a really fair kind of overview of what the yarn's like, what the colourways are like, and trying to keep up with that. And this is only something I do in my spare time. I have a full-time, very demanding job, and so trying to squeeze things in around that can be a little bit tricky, which is why this month I won't be focusing on the work of one independent yarn dyer, but I have what I would like to call a selection box. When I first started doing this, I was so excited to find all the different yarn dyers who might be out there. I was buying a skein from here, a skein from there, and suddenly, without realising it, my stash got very, very big, very, very quickly. But with only maybe one skein from each independent yarn dyer, I am supposed to be not buying new yarn, but you will see that has not worked out very well for me these past couple of months. But what I thought I would do is use those single skeins to showcase those yarn dyers where I might only have the one skein, but you might not have heard of them, and it's just a very small opportunity for you to see the kind of things that were on offer, and I'd really suggest you go and find them. So I have been very busy, even though I haven't been focusing on the work of just one dyer, but many. So I've got quite a few finished objects to show you, and some of the yarn dyers I mentioned you might have heard me mention before. I've been trying to use up the yarn I've been buying at Yarndale. Always get it wrong. It's Yarndale and Woolfest. Anyway, I've been trying to use up the single skeins and things I bought from there. So you might recognise some of them. So the first one I have to show you is this sock head cowl. So this is from a yarn dyer called Ratty Yarns. Now, I've done a little bit of investigation. I wasn't able to get in touch with Ratty Yarns herself. I bought this off Etsy less than 6 months ago, really not a very long time ago. It is a beautiful extra fine merino. It's single ply, very, very soft, and it's got these wonderful, it's a kind of purpley grey, absolutely beautiful. It's got flecks of green every so often in it. Absolutely beautiful. And I used the sockhead cowl, which I think everybody will probably be familiar with. But this is a really lovely yarn to have next to your neck. Look at that. So it'll fit underneath the coat really beautifully. And again, it's really soft. Now, I haven't been able to get in touch with Ratty Yarns, and I've had a look on Etsy, and the shop seems to have gone. There is a Facebook page there, but nothing's been posted on it for a while, so I have a horrible feeling that maybe Ratty Yarns has ceased trading, which is very sad. But if it does come back, or you find a skein on eBay, then it's definitely worth looking looking up. And if you are ratty yarns, do let me know and get in touch and tell me what's happened and if you have stopped dyeing or moved on to something different or maybe changed your name. So I won't dwell too long on that because unfortunately you probably won't be able to find it very much. But that is one that is going in the present stash for Christmas. I think they're really handy, these kind of little cowls, to throw on and shove in a pocket. And I do quite a bit of walking and they're really nice to just have around your neck without having the bulk of a scarf or having bits flapping around. So a brilliant one. And in fact, I liked the pattern and the kind of use of it so much, I started making another one. Now, I was hoping I was going to finish this yesterday. In Oxford, we have just had a 2-day festival called Common People, and it was the most glorious weather, and I did get quite a bit of knitting done while I was sitting listening to the brilliant music and the sunshine, but I didn't get to finish this. Now, this is, you can see I'm almost done. I'm just on the top ribbing of this. These are quite vibrant colours. This is from a dye you can find on Etsy, and I've checked, she's still there, called Knitter Scarlet. And this colourway is called the Banoffee Pie. And it's her Tootsie, I don't know why I'm showing you that, it's the wrong way around. It's her Tootsie sock weight yarn, and this is Banoffee Pie, and it's superwash wool and nylon. So it's coming up very nicely. I do think I've been knitting it at quite a loose gauge. These I think are 3.5mm needles, and this I've discovered is a brilliant pattern to take to things like festivals or the cinema or wherever it might be, because you can just knit round and round in a circle without thinking about it. You're not doing any patterning, you're not decreasing, increasing. So it's very good non-concentrating stuff. So this is a bit brighter than I would normally do, but it's very fun. It is very vibrant, and actually I think as a little cowl underneath a darker jumper, that might just be a lovely splash of colour. So you can find Knitter Scarlet. She's on Instagram as well. I follow her there. I have a feeling she's maybe in the west of the country somewhere. I want to say maybe Wales, but then I don't want to lie. I will double check on that. Also want to say, for those where there are Etsy shops or places where you can go and find and follow these independent dyers, I'll put all the links and information on the blog yarnambassador.com, so you can find all the links to them there. But this has been really good fun. I'm finishing it a little bit early, obviously with the Ratical. You can just keep on going until you've used up the whole skein. But actually I quite liked the idea of using the rest of it maybe as a colourwork piece, maybe in a darker grey jumper. I do love a dark grey with a kind of real pop of yellow, yellow and vibrantly flame colours. It's more flamey than Banoffee Pie, I would say. I might be a little bit concerned if my Banoffee Pie turned out like this, but then again, I'm not a baker, so it might do, and it might just be, that might be the colour of Banoffee Pie. Anyway, feel like I'm slightly digressing on that. But Knitter Scarlet, a really nice range of things, really great Etsy shop. Kind of, I think, quite small scale at the moment, and I'm not sure if she attends wool festivals, and but worth checking out on Instagram and on Etsy. Knitter Scarlet. The other, the next project I did was by a wonderful company called Woo Sheeps. Now, I met these guys in Skipton at Yarndale in Skipton. Now, I picked these up because they were actually, they were on offer. I picked up 2 skeins of a superwash BFL and nylon high twist that is called Doug. And this is from Woo Sheeps. Woo Sheeps. And I think the guy who runs it is called Neil. These guys are based in the Rins of Galloway in South Scotland. and they were at Yarndale, and I picked up 2 of these single skeins, a bright fuchsia pink and this amazing, very, very dark green, which was called bottle green, which was so dark it was almost black. But I thought the combination of them together was absolutely brilliant. And so when I was in Chicago, there was a lady who was showing off her shawl to the yarn shop that I popped into, and it was beautiful, and I had to take a picture of her and ask her what pattern it was, and she told me it was the Eiffel Gold pattern by Melanie Berg, and it was perfect for 2, well, I think it actually calls for 3 skeins of sock yarn. I used 2 and just kind of finished off the pattern a bit earlier, so it's not actually as big. But this is the Eiffel Gold, and it uses mosaic knitting. This has been a couple of months of learning new techniques. So this has got mosaic knitting, which is this amazing way of slipping stitches to create this beautiful pattern. So it's kind of a colour work, but you're only ever working with one colour yarn, and you're creating the colour work effect by slipping stitches. And additionally, this has an I-cord bind off, which I don't know if you can see terribly well. No, because it's not even in shot. There we go, an I-cord bind off. That's what the back of mosaic looking knit looks like. So it's not ugly by any means, but the pattern is much more defined on that side. And so these, I will take a photo of this because the colour is blowing out and it looks kind of almost dull, but this bright fuchsia pink is called bubblegum pink, and the green, which I don't know if you can see, is almost black. It's kind of a very tonal, deep, inky green, and that's called bottle green. Now, I got in touch with Neil because I was really worried I was going to need additional yarn, and so I was asking him if he was dyeing anything up and if there was going to be some bottle green. Now, in the process of that conversation, he told me that actually this one, which is Doug has been put into retirement, but he told me that you can get Angus, which is very similar but is not a high twist, on his site, and he's just had a massive site update where you can get the bottle pink and the bubblegum pink and the bottle green together, and it's brilliant. He's got some really vibrant colours, really great. So Woo Sheeps, really good fun, and their website is brilliant. They've got some amazing art on it. There's a sheep with a top hat and a monocle that takes you through to the Etsy shop, and so really good fun to go and have a look and a browse on there. And yeah, I'm quite pleased with how this turned up. This is going to be a gift, because actually this is for one of my friends who saw a similar shawl. It wasn't quite this one. Went into a yarn shop, took a picture of it, didn't get me any yarn, came out and said, I want you to make me this. So I have done. It's her birthday in June. So that's going to be for that. So that's Woo Sheeps. Really great fun. Actually, I'll just dive and see if I can show you the leftover pink, because it's such a vibrant pink. I'm really hoping it will show up. I'm back. Oh, no, this is so rubbish. I wonder if that maybe gives you a little bit. That's almost the colour. It is bonkers. Jasmine from the Knitmore Girls was knitting something for her daughter, Genevieve, and it was in a colourway called Eye Searing Pink, and I feel like this isn't far off Eye Searing Pink. But actually with that dark green, it works really well. So I'm super pleased with how that turned out. The yarn itself is BFL, so I mean, for a sock yarn, this would be brilliant. It's quite sturdy for a shawl. It's softened up a lot in blocking, but as I understand, the yarn base is different. So I'm not going to talk too much about the yarn base from that, because Doug is no more. He's also, Neil from Woo Sheeps has also got a brilliant sock yarn which is called Big Dick. So why would you not buy some Big Dick sock yarn? Brilliant. The next piece I finished, I went on a bit of a hat burst. And you may remember when I came back from Edinburgh Yarn Festival, I had picked up the colourway that had been dyed by Walcott Yarns with Townhouse Yarns, who are based in Dublin. And this is called West Covina, this colourway. And I think it was their Edinburgh Yarn Festival special. And it's a beautiful mixture of kind of very pale purples, pinks, a little bit of green, like a heathermore. And this is 70% Falkland Merino, 30% baby alpaca, and 100% awesome. And it totally is. Look at this. So I made the, is it called blueberry waffle, violet waffle, some kind of waffle hat. And I just want to talk about these pom-poms. So I got these from Bs Emporium. They're fake fur pom-poms. And they are really reasonable and they're really fun. And these, if you can believe it, are actually the small size. They're huge. They're huge. They're like a small animal in themselves. But so this is kind of a sport weight yarn. I can't remember what needles I did it on, but it's really not hat weather. Get that? It's quite fun. It's quite a light yarn, so the pom-pom is feeling quite heavy on it. But it's a beautiful yarn and very, very soft, and I feel like it's going to be really lightweight but warm in the winter. So that was another one I did. I'm not quite sure how long the collaboration is going to go on, but definitely Townhouse Yarns is something I want to look into because I haven't really plugged into them yet to see what they're like, and Walcott Yarns either. So actually I love a collaboration because you get a bit of both worlds, and you can follow both of them on. It is really soft. Falkland Merino and baby alpaca. That's kind of dreamy. Smells bloody brilliant as well. That smells brilliant. That is probably because I got some new soak at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. The yellow one, which smells really nice. So I've been enjoying soaking all my stuff, all my finished projects in that. Is that all I want to say about that? Bs Emporium. Walcott Yarns with Townhouse Yarns. Waffle. Blue violet. I'm sure you'll find it. It's a waffle hat. I'll put a link. Let's not worry about that. I'll put a link. Then my final kind of short showcase for today is Triskelion yarns. Now, you may remember I spoke about Triskelion yarns at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I met Carthen there and I fell in love with, they had this wonderful knitted sample which was on display, which was the banded sweater by Duca Mulligan. Duca Shack Mulligan. And it was this very, very simple, well, it's not simple, it's got a very simple aesthetic, but it's very clever construction. And it's called the banded sweater, and she had done that particularly for Triskelion yarns for Edinburgh Yarn Festival. And I just totally fell in love with it. And it's made from their Skiffling DK. So this is the pattern, banded. There we go. And this is my finished jumper. So it's got this dark grey, which is called Sunner's Brow, and this paler kind of oatmeal-y colour is called Ember's End. And then there's this very zingy kind of marine blue. Oh, they're all really beautiful and tonal. So anyway, I finished this. This is a full DK sweater. I love it. It's got waist shaping. I'll try and take some pictures because I don't think I'm really... I wonder if I can try and put it on. One moment, please. I shall put it on. Oh, it's so soft. I can't tell you how soft it is. Now, I want to talk about the Skiffling DK. I think that's a bit better. Can you see that? It's got this amazing construction that goes down this... Wrong one. Goes down the side here. I think I saw somewhere it was called the contiguous sweater. This is not the greatest angle. You get the idea. It's a stripy jumper. And I'm really, really pleased with it. And actually it's toasty, toasty warm. And it's really, really soft. Now, Skilfing DK. I have been saying it wrong. Skilfing DK. Can you see that? And now this is 75% Blue Face Leicester and 25% Gotland. Sourced, spun and hand dyed in the UK. And it is beautiful. It is so very soft and so very warm. I might need to take it off. It was an absolute joy to work with, and it's got really, really kind of tonal touches. So they're not quite solid colours, but they're not by any means variegated. It's beautiful and so warm. And I love actually the pattern. The pattern is really nicely written. Duke has written loads of patterns actually, and I think she seems to have this kind of partnership collaboration with Triskelion Yarns, because I noticed she'd done a couple for them. But what is a total bonus was when I was at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, if you bought the yarn for this jumper sweater, you got the pattern for free, and they also gave you this hat pattern. Skirnse, Skarvse, Skovse. But the best thing about it all, so this is also by Duca Shack-Mulligan as well, is that the pattern calls for 3 of the main colour, so this dark grey, and then 1 skein each of the lighter stripe and 1 skein for the kind of contrast, the second contrast colour. But you have loads left over, right? So this is what I had left over. That's from the white stripes, a little bit from the blue contrast colour, and all of that from the main colour. So in fact, I can make this hat with the leftovers. How bloody brilliant is that? So that is definitely going to be a plan, and then I can wear my matching hat with my matching jumper. But the jumper is brilliant. I have to say it is totally too warm to wear this at the moment. I don't know what has happened to the weather in the UK, but it's a bit like a jungle out there. It's really muggy and really hot. We had thunderstorms, which is great because the garden needs water, obviously. But anyway, Triskelion Yarns, they are absolutely brilliant. I'm hoping at a certain stage I'll be able to work more with Triskelion Yarns and perhaps manage to interview Carvin. He's based in Wales, so I'm not generally on my route anywhere between here and the north. But I'm hoping to be able to get to see him and have an interview, because I think what he's doing with his yarns are absolutely amazing. The colourways are brilliant, and the combination, the blends of the yarn are just absolutely fabulous. So if you haven't already had a look at some of the Triskelion yarn stuff, please do. Beautiful tonal solids. I've never knitted with Goatland before. This is why I want to interview Calvin. I've got so many questions for him about Gotland wool and where his yarns come from and where the dyes come from. So look out for that. That might be in a future episode. I'm going to have to take this off now. Please excuse me while I strip. It is so warm. It's brilliant, isn't it? Look at that. A jumper. I'm always constantly amazed when I manage to finish jumpers because I've actually made a garment that might be useful. I love it. Not that other garments aren't useful, just that a jumper feels like a proper piece of clothing, doesn't it? Whereas hats and scarves, you feel like they might not be proper pieces of clothing. The other exciting thing, while I was talking about new techniques, is that in the banded jumper, it calls for German short rows, which I've never done before. So again, I learned another new technique, and they're dead simple and they're brilliant. I much prefer German short rows to the wrap and turn technique that often leaves you with a bit of a squit, like a distorted, or you can always see when I've done wrap and turn short rows, however much I try and pick it up or knit it in, it always looks really obvious. But with the German short rows, not at all. It's fabulous. It just disappears, blends in, and it's a lot less faff actually than doing the wrap and turn. So again, another new technique which I'm really excited about. And I love in patterns that you can pick up a pattern and you can find all these tutorials online. They're really well described. You should never be put off doing a pattern because there's a technique in it you don't know. It's such a brilliant opportunity to learn a new technique and do something different and kind of keep on expanding your skills. Yeah, it's brilliant. So, mosaic knitting, I-cord bind off, and German short rows. Been terribly busy upping my skill set. The other thing I wanted to mention was that I went to Wool at Junction 13 a couple of weeks ago, which was great. So I got to see a lot of old friends, old faces. So I saw Zoe and Jenny from All About Yarn there, and Zoe from the Pins and Needles podcast. I got to see Rachel from Cat and Sparrow UK. Who else did I? And then I got to meet loads of new friends. So I wanted to mention a couple of those guys who I saw, because as this has been a selection box kind of episode, I thought we may as well continue. Now, I haven't knitted anything up with these, but I wanted you to give you the heads up, so when we have the second selection box, you'll have seen them. The first one I want to talk about was a lovely lady called, actually I don't know her name, I've totally forgot to ask her name. I could probably go on Instagram and look, but the yarn name is Dusty Dimples, and it's this really, really cute logo. Look at that, really kind of vintagey. I was on the lookout for some grey DK because I am joining the knit along for the Knit To retreat, the Renee Callahan knit along, and she has a beautiful pair of mitts. I wonder if you can see them. And these are called the Thwailan, which is an Irish name meaning little wolf. And they're these beautiful fingerless mitts, and they've got a very subtle kind of design, wrap design on the back. So I saw this stunning variegated yarn, which is charcoals, touches of red, flecks of white, and thought this would be perfect. So I actually did start and I cast on, and I was really excited for it. And it's got this kind of twisted rib structure to it. Now, I actually think I'm going to use this yarn for something where I can let the yarn breathe, as it were. the moment I feel like there's almost too much going on in terms of the variegated yarn and the twisted rib and the pattern, and I feel like perhaps neither the pattern nor the yarn are getting a chance to speak. So I'm going to do something a little more simple with this yarn. It's all skeined up, so it means I can do something with it, all skeined up, all caked up, so it means I can do something with it really soon. It probably will be a pair of mitts, just maybe not that pair of mitts. It might just be a very simple pattern with no kind of design element on it. So that was Dusty Dimples, and that's her DK. It's 75% merino, 25% nylon, and that particular colourway is called Shimla, which is, I absolutely love it. It's lovely. Maybe I'll make a hat with it. A hat or mitts, not sure. I think I probably will do mitts, because now I've got it in my head I'm going to make mitts with them. But it also means I haven't actually got very far on my Rennie Callahan knit along. Although I did get a very beautiful, very pale grey DK skein off Owl About Yarn, which has got a tiny little sparkle in it. So that might be the one I do with that. So that was the first kind of new discovery. They're a new to me dyer. I think they've been dyeing for maybe a year or so, and I think they said they were going to be at Yarningham. I think they're kind of local to the Birmingham area, so look out for them at Yarningham. Another new to me dyer is Chronology yarns, and I was just really blown away by this colourway, which is a kind of very pale green, almost sea glassy kind of colourway, and this is merino and bamboo. Now what's interesting is I was looking for DK weight, and I picked this up thinking it was DK weight, but actually she said it knits up as a sock yarn. So even though it looks kind of a bit more chunky and bulky, when it's knitted, it's more of a sock weight yarn. So I'm not quite sure. Bamboo. Again, a first. I've never knitted with bamboo. It smells still like yarn. It's merino and bamboo. It's not 100% bamboo. But loved the colourways of that. That kind of very subtle, variegated, beautiful, understated kind of use of colour. So Chronology yarns. Keep an eye out for them. The next one I was very excited to buy. So I was just having a nice long chat with Jenny from Owl About Yarn, and the stall next to her was called Weaver's Loft. And this was on for a bargain. I think that, I can't remember how much this was, but it was something, it was £9.50 for 100 grams of sock weight yarn. That is a total bargain. And look at those colours, like really rich pinks, yellows, really autumny kind of colours. I can tell when it gets to the autumn, I'm just going to be super drawn to them. And it's 100% wool. And what was most exciting for me was this lady, who, again, I'm sorry, I don't think I caught your name, but I was really super excited because this lady is based in Hampshire, about a 5-minute walk from my offices where I work during the week. So I was really, really excited to find somebody who was really local to me. It's a kind of commercial unit that I think she shares with other people there. And there's a quilt shop on the same complex. So that's in Andover. So I will be saving up one of my lunch breaks and making a bit of a pilgrimage there. But it was lovely to speak to her. Great value yarn. And she's got a website which is Weaver's Loft, so you can go and find her yarns there. But those, and then I also thought, because I was like, they both look quite chunky, but they're not. They're sock weight yarn. But then I wondered if actually that was a nice combination that could go together. What do we think? Is that maybe too much? I thought something with stripes, a kind of sock weight yarn with stripes might be really nice for that. Fun projects for the future. So it was lovely to discover them as well. And then the final lady I spent quite a long time speaking to, and I've even remembered her name. She was called Gemma, and she is Snuggly Stars yarn. And I think, again, she's only been up and running for maybe a year or so. She had yarn, all different weights, but also other little trinkets, progress keepers and stitch markers and all those kind of things. So she's definitely worth checking out. Again, I think she's going to be at Yarningham, but I don't want to overpromise. So I was on the lookout for DK weight grey yarn, of which I did manage to pick up several skeins. But actually what I came away from the Snuggly Stars stand was this really beautiful variegated yarn. So this is 100% superwash merino, DK weight, and it's a kind of pale blue, some burnt orange, a little bit of dark grey and black running through it. So brilliant fun. I also was speaking to Zoe from Pins and Needles, and I really want to knit up her Jackson's Bay Cowl. But I had it in my head it was a DK weight. It's not at all. It's an Aran weight. So I was like, well, fine, this has given me an excuse to go and find some Aran weight. Look at this. This is, again, this is a one-of-a-kind dye weight, but she's called it Naughty Navy. And it's tweedy Aran base, so it's got these lovely neps in them, you can just see. And it's 85% superwash merino and 15% Donegal net. So that's going to turn into a Jackson's Bay Cowl. And again, quite a bargain. That was only £14. The other DK, that one was only £14 as well. And then she had a basket. She had a end of line basket. And I am a total sucker for an end of line basket. There was this amazing deep purpley aubergine, and it's a DK weight, it's a singles DK weight, and it's 40% alpaca, 40% merino, 20% silk. What? Amazing. And it was £10, just because it was like one of the last ones she had in that colourway, which I don't think is right. I think even if it's the last one, honestly. But absolutely beautiful. So I don't know what I'm going to be making from that. Possibly a hat. I'm really into the DK hats at the moment. So that will probably be something I put into the Christmas basket once that's knit up. But I was really excited to meet Gemma and Snuggly Stars yarn, and it may well be that a future episode is kind of revisiting these skeins and what they knit up at, because I've got 3 different bases there, 2 different weights. So watch this space for more Snuggly Stars yarn. So my other camera died before I got to say goodbye. I just wanted to offer a sage warning to anybody travelling and thinking of taking your knitting with you on summer holidays within Europe. I don't know if you followed my horrors on Instagram, but within 2 weeks I had 2 pairs of needles taken away from me. They made me cut up my chow goose. They made me cut the metal tips off the end, which was kind of heartbreaking. That time they seemed to let the wooden ones, the Knit Pro ones, go. They didn't have a problem with the wooden ones. In Spain, however, they had a problem with the wooden ones, and so I had to bin the tips of those as well. So there's not a lot of consistency to it. I obviously get the need for security, and anything sharp and pointy could be a problem, but so just
Be aware though, if you are trying to travel and take your knitting needles with you, avoid the heartbreak. Take plastic needles or ones you don't care about. Thank you very much for staying with me to the end. If you did enjoy it, please give the video a like, share it, and please subscribe so that you get to see the next independent yarn dyer showcase. Thank you very much as ever, and I hope you've had a brilliant bank holiday weekend, and hope to catch you soon. Bye bye.